Hi, this is Ray. Welcome to the last series of the system design series for front-end engineer. And today we're finishing up this 7 series journey about the system design for front-end engineers. And this is actually my last video for my preparation. My interview is coming in next week, so I hope everything will be fine, and this video is also helpful for you. Today we're going to take a look at another common problem. This is the poll widget. So we need to design the Facebook poll widget when you can actually create a poll and vote for multiple or a single option. And we try to design this component from scratch as usual, following with our usual plan. So okay, I think we can start here. So as usual, we start with our system design plan. And first, we consider the general requirements for our component. Then we are going to take a look at the functional requirements, like something specific and technical, like configuration and so on. Then we are going to proceed to the components architecture, where we create the high-level mockup for the component, and then draw the dependency graph for our components to understand the whole structure of it. Then we're actually not going to talk about the data entities, but we are going to talk about the props design, what our component takes as the input props. And then we'll proceed to the API design. It's actually the component can have its own API, which we interact with. And then we proceed to not the store design, but probably the state design is more appropriate here. What we store inside our component to actually what it's used for internally in order to work well. Okay, the second point is the optimization. So we need to find out how we can optimize our component stuff and so on. So, and the last, not actually last, it's accessibility. So how can we make our component accessible for everybody? And the last point will be the extensibility. How can we extend our component so it can become more extensionable, and how can we actually improve this functionality externally? Okay, we've done with our basic plan, and let's proceed to the first point of it. It's actually the general requirements, and I put the box here. So what are the general requirements for the poll widget? Of course, that the user can vote and re-vote, and we also say that the user can vote like with the multiple answers and also with the single answer. So let's say that the user can vote and re-vote multiple answers, and also this can be like the single answer. So the second point is that so how actually user can vote for the widget. So for example, if we integrate our widget inside some website like Facebook, you need to be logged in to vote for the results. But if you're not logged in, you probably can see the results in the read-only mode. So we need to provide this one. So we say that we need to have read-only mode. I also would like to have the option where our component is highly configurable. Like we can define how the look of the options, and we also define the look of the actually how the option and the read-only mode is rendered. So let's say that we want to enable the component customization. Enable component customization. So, and we are going to provide this with the CSS API and also like render customization and user-defined render function. Okay, what else can we add to our general requirements? And I think one more thing here is that we want to distribute our component as the npm package. So component is distributable by npm package. And I have the wrong spelling here. Okay. And the fifth point, and I think it's going to be the last one, we'd like actually to integrate this component even, for example, in other websites. So, for example, we can provide this component with via iframe or some other options. So we say that we want to have the embeddable integration. Okay, we done with the general requirements for our components. Let's proceed to the functional requirements. So what will be the functional requirements? So probably we want this component to be to work in all modern browsers. So we support wide range of devices. So, and I would say that it can be mobiles, tablets, and desktops. So other functional requirements is that a user can provide custom render function. The component should be configurable. And under configurability, I mean that we can provide the options. We can also provide our CSS extensions. We can also provide the, as I said, render functions. What else can we actually provide? Okay, and also callback functions. Callback functions, I mean the callback when the user votes, we want to execute some action, for example, send the request to the server. So I also would add that we need to work with static and asynchronous mode. So for example, we have some static stuff when we have no server and we just handling only the client session stuff. This means that we need to work in different modes like async and sync. Yeah, probably this is fine for the functional requirements. And let's proceed to the third point. It's a component architecture. So I'll place the label here and say that this will be the component architecture. So we start with the general markup of our component. I already prepared the schema as always. So the poll-wdiget itself contains the title and option item, and also revote and vote button. And remember that the options actually can be customizable. So we need to think that we provide the default options one, but we can also customize it with the render functions we have. And this is the view mode, but edit mode, when the user actually can vote for the option, is a bit different. So here we see that we have the selectable options where user can select a certain option and then render it. And also we have the same submit vote button. Okay, and having all of that, let's build the dependency graph of the our component set. As you can see, the root component is the poll-wdiget. Poll-wdiget contains the poll title. Also, it contains the options list and vote and revote button. And as you can see here, if we go down below, here we have the option item and the view item. This means that the user actually can provide, so we have the different look of options. So one thing here is the view. It's like here I displayed it as a bar chart, but we also can have these options as a, for example, user can define not really to have the bar chart, but just maybe percentages or something. And also user can can define the selectable component, and we just provide the API to develop this selectable component on the user side. Okay, with all of that, I think we can move forward to describe actually the property design and the API design. Okay, let's proceed to the property design. I'll create a box here like that. So let's create the poll props and think about the props we need to actually fulfill our requirements. And definitely the first prop which come in mind, it's an option. And I'll say this is the option array. And I'll define the option itself a bit later. So one more thing is our poll can be read-only. So this means that we can't edit this if the mode is read-only. One other thing here is that we provide the callback on the vote. This means that user can define the callback, and he receives the option which array. So remember, we can provide multiple options, and we return void. So, and he can define what he actually plans to do with these options. Maybe he can increase the votes by itself, or he can call the server, and then we receive the new props and so on. So what else we have? So we also have a render item. So render item is actually what we see here when we actually edit the poll view. Let's say we can say that it's actually a render edit item. So the user received the option, and also he needs to return the HTML element template, so which we can use for inserting his option. So I say that it's HTML element, and then we can also say that we define the read item, and we provide an option as usual, and then we are returning the HTML element here. Okay, we have the render edit item, render read item. Let's think of other stuff we probably need. So we have on vote. Yeah, I think this is enough for the poll props. And let's think about the option itself. So I would like to be option is as simple as possible. So I'd like to define our component as pure as we can. So it's just a view. So the data actually serves, the view actually shows how to view this data we input. So I don't want to include like sophisticated logic inside the component, and simpler the component, simpler the implementation, and that's have the great benefits on the development. So let's say that the option itself has the numbers, vote numbers. It also has the order, and it also has the name. So I think that's it for the option, and we are fine here. And I would like to also define an API for widget itself. I mean, so For example, if you want to update some options, or we want, and remember, we are working with currently we are not tied to some framework. We're talking about in terms of just JavaScript. So I'll define also the Widget API itself, and for that I can simply put another box here and define the poll API. And it's going to be very simple. I'll provide so we need to define just the several methods like initialize, and we pass the props, poll props, and this actually just reinitialize the widget with the new props. For example, we updated some props from the server, received the update, and then we render. And another thing to consider is, so we need also to provide the destruction method. So for example, we want to get rid of our widget itself, so we provide the destroy method, which removes the component from our structure. Okay, so we design the properties and also the API, and now let's actually consider how we work in the internal state. So I'll say that we need to define the state of our widget, and here it will be pretty simple, I think, because okay, I need to have like the state box. Yeah, let's be here. Increase the font. Okay, so what do we need to store in our widget? Probably this is the most options which we have here. Yeah, this is quite simple here, so I'll just copy the box here. Okay, I need to write here. Okay. Okay, I copied the options and we need to increase the font also. Okay, that's better. Okay, we need to move stuff around. So we keeping in our state most of the props we have on we passed, and this is here is quite simple. So we also need to have some root element, so where we actually keep our component itself, so we can further use that. I also consider elements array. So for example, this is needed for optimization stuff. When we actually we can reuse our HTML elements in order to not re-render whole element stuff on each props update. We can update the existing one, and it's going to be a cheaper option for us. Okay, so I think this is the state design here. It's quite simple, and then we need to actually show the data flow of our widget. So how we actually pass the data to the child components. And here is, okay, I actually forgot one prop here. It's a title. So let's add the title to here. Title string. Okay, we added here, and then we pass here the title from our state. Here we pass the on-road callback. To the options list, we of course pass the options. And to the option item, we pass simple option. And also to the view item too. Yeah, this is actually how our data flow works. Options are sorted by the order, internal order, which we get from the server or from the static data. So this is our state design. And let's proceed to the optimization side. Okay, think we can do it here. Okay. So let's call it optimization. So as usual, under optimization, we have the three most common pillars. It's a network, it's a rendering, and it's actually the JavaScript. And because we're developing not the application, just the widget, we are quite limited in our optimization capabilities here, but we still can do something. So let's start with the network. So first thing to consider is the minifying our assets. So we minify the JS and CSS of our code. Then we apply the So then we apply zipping assets. For that, we can also use broadly for browsers which are actually supported broadly. Then we serve everything under our CDN, so we ensure that our package is served from the location which is the most nearest to the user. This actually pretty standard stuff we can do. Also, we can provide the different bundles like ES5 target and ES6. So if we, for example, we have the environment where we support all modern ES6 features, we do not need to bundle polyfills with that, and we can reduce the 50 kilobyte or 40 kilobyte of the polyfills, and this will be cool just for one widget. Also, we can split our component into some bundles. For example, it can be core. It also can be some theming module, and also it can be the utility module. This means that if the user needs just the poll stuff, then he's going to use the just the core to the core module of our package, and then the theming and utilities, they're like additional ones. So regarding the rendering, it's more interesting here. First thing to optimize is the DOM operation, which is actually the most important one here. So what we can do here, as you can see, there is no need for virtualization because usually polls have not many options to choose. Yeah, let's consider actually how we can optimize the DOM on the DOM update. So let's say that we do not re-render and insert in the new elements on each property update, but we are using the old ones. So we render the props on the HTML elements once, and then just update their text. And this is going to be cheaper than just inserting the new elements. So this is the first thing. What else can be done? So we also consider the CSS options here. So what is the CSS? CSS we can provide, we can enforce enforce naming strategy, CSS naming strategy. So as you know, the longer and nested selectors, then the performance actually sucks. And we need to enforce the naming strategy like Beam or CSS modules, which can help us to provide the flattened selectors, and this will improve the browser performance. We can also say that we want to enforce CSS animations here, because they're more optimized and provide more frame per second. So let's just enforce the CSS animations. That's actually if we need this in our component. Okay, what is actually can be also done from the rendering perspective? Okay, we can all, if we, for example, we wait for options for a long time, then we provide the skeleton and placeholders. This can actually improve the UX of our widget and can help the user to wait this time to load the data itself. Okay, let's switch to the JavaScript, and from the JavaScript perspective, this probably not too much we can do here. As the JavaScript, I see the single point which we can improve on is its event delegation. So when we actually click on the options, we do not listen event on each of this option. We listen event on the root element, and then we handle this event with the data attributes and actually perform the event stuff. So we listen to the single event on the root element. So this is the event delegation technique. What I don't see any points we can use for further stuff because the poll-wdiget actually doesn't have any like high cost operations that I don't see them just. Okay, we finished with optimization, and then let's try to switch to accessibility. So I create the accessibility label here, and let's think about our accessibility stuff. So first thing we can enforce is that enforce using rams over pixels. So by enforcing them, we support custom browser settings, and this means that we ensure that our widget looks fine even on the with the custom user browser settings. The second thing is the keyboard shortcuts. Yes, we want to have the keyboard shortcuts for the tab between options. We also want to have like vote or revote. And for example, see the results. Yeah, this is just the basic shortcuts we can enforce. And then we can also enforce HTML5 semantics. How can we do that? I mean, using the form and the input elements and not the div will be more screen reader friendly. So we need to enforce using form and input elements instead of divs. This actually improves the screen reader, more screen reader friendly, more SEO optimized. This means that it's actually SEO optimized and screen reader friendly. Okay, this last point is that we want to provide some area attributes, attributes. We don't need them much because we're using the already HTML5 semantics here. But let's say that we can also enforce using some the most important ones. One is the area label, and area description for the area description to describe the option we have, and we can announce the currently selected option with the area live because we're changing the input for announcing the area for changing the value. Okay, so probably we're done with the optimization side, or not, sorry, accessibility, actually. Accessibility. And we can move forward to the next point we have, it's extensibility. So regarding the extensibility stuff, okay, extensibility. How can we provide the extension for our widget? And for that, we actually need to consider three things. We need to provide the custom CSS API. So this actually some CSS classes we can have for the widget in order to customize it. So one of them is actually option item. Another thing is the read-only item. Also, we can provide the title. Yeah, this is just the most common stuff we have. Also, we need to provide the ES6 inheritance. We can provide ES6 inheritance. So, for example, if somebody wants to extend our component, and we can use this ES6 class here, the user can extend the functionality with the inheritance and then provide some custom logic for our component. We also can use the render functions like we already do for our design in order to improve the to make it easier to customize certain elements like select read-only items and selectable items and so on. Yeah, and I think we are done here. So we designed the whole widget. So we talked about the property design, state design, optimization, extensibility. And let's check with our requirements. Yeah, we also have the embeddable integration. Let's talk about that. So what about embeddable integration? So this is more actually about the application side, but we can also mention this integration. So our application will have the route for embeddable stuff. So let's say we have here the application. And also, this application provides an application router. And here we have one of the options is embeddable route. Embeddable route. Then when we have this embeddable route, we can also, under this embeddable route, we can create just a simple poll widget. And this embeddable route will take, for example, the poll ID. And then we request the server with this poll data and then render the poll itself. And the poll widget can be integrated with the several options here. First one, as we can embed content via iframe and provide the setup script for that. And the second option, we can use provider services. Actually, there are a lot of them, and for example, if you want to use our widget inside some very common platform like Medium and so on, we need to register on special service, which is has the it's usually called embeddably, and it's provide the description as a JSON format, and then you can use the embeddably to embed our widget on any website with the. And here, this is how we make our widget trustable for many websites. So you can use any service for that. I just say here that it's actually, you can use the provider service. So this is two options for embeddable integration, and I think we can finish here. yeah, thank you for watching this video. Please leave the comment below, and also I like to see your suggestions. How can we improve this stuff? And I would like to say that good luck on your interview, and may the force be with you. This is Ray, and see you in the next videos. Bye.